First of all, good morning. But it's my first time in Armenia. Question. It's not been confirmed yet. Yeah. So why humor? Actually, you just mentioned a bit. You mentioned a bit about this research, which is struck from us in search of analytical framework. Yes. Well, you're partly right. It's not what global Ukraine was dealing with. It just was. I was proposed to do this research. So this is about how humor is being used in strategic communication, how it is being used in disinformation, counter propaganda, and so on. It was just exactly 2 years ago. And actually, when even I was examining this field, I was really underestimating humor as a really great, serious tool. But what happens just half an hour after this research was uploaded on the NATO Stratcom Center of Excellence official site, internet site, Maria Zakharova, who knows who that is, that's a spokesman of Russia MFA, she made a tweet by saying that, you see how stupid are those NATO researchers saying that KVN, so KVN is one of the humorous shows, comedian shows in Russia, one of the most famous. They said that this KVN is a tool and weapon of Kremlin, which was actually not right. So she just used one of the pieces of this research and expanded to the whole research. But still, we really received a great attention from Russian media and so on. And for the whole week, all the Russian media were speaking about us, about our research. Even there were some jokes in KVN, and you can also see some of the, so it's not clear here, but this is probably not the Projector Paris Hilton show, also one of the most famous comedian shows in Russia. And there's this guy on the right, probably you recognize him, he's by the way Armenian, Garip Martirosyan. He was also saying about our research, yes, but after that I really understood that the humor is something much more serious that I was treating. So I thought it is. And really, humor is being widely used by many political regimes in many countries as a great tool, and let me explain you why. So I think that really humor is one of the best defensive tools to defend own country information service. That's for sure. It's one of the best universal communication tools. It can be disseminated quickly, with minimal efforts, but timing matters. Please make sure that timing always matters. Humor must be used on time. Also, just what the previous speaker said, that humor is kind of has to rely on facts, but it also creates some alternative reality, and that's why I proposed the term for humor, which is a smart fake. So it's not a fake as it is; it's kind of smart fake. And it can be also used as a tool for overcoming fear and panic, especially during military conflicts, during the war, during the conflicts, during the crisis, economic crisis, and so on, for instance, in Ukraine. Just before I come to the topic about humor in politics, I would like to make this bridge, because we have like kind of separate days. First is humor, the second is games. I would like to propose the following, that both humor and games are creating alternative reality. Games and humor are blurring the line between reality and fiction, and both are dealing and provoking with emotions, provoking emotions. So why humor? We can just go into the history. I can mention ancient Greece, where the humor was used by the rulers to kind of entertain people, and also 2005 Denmark, caricatures of Mohammed. You can just most of you are young people, but some of you may recall about those events which have really provoked kind of rallies and protests in Denmark all over the world. Also, Charlie Hebdo, the caricature of which was also impacted and provoked a terrorist attack in Paris. So yes, humor is a great tool, a very strong tool, and saying about politics. The humor is being proclaimed as politicians' weapon. And I would propose Ronald Reagan as an example. I think this is one of the best politicians that have used humor ever. He even has gathered anecdotes about Soviet regime. And so his advisors were collecting these anecdotes. And can you guess how many anecdotes did he just collect? 15,000 anecdotes about Soviet regime, which he has used during his speeches all the time to mock at the Soviet regime. And one of these anecdotes I like the most. I haven't tried all the 15,000, but still, like 3 dogs are gathering, speaking 3 dogs. The first one is American, the second is Polish, and the third one is Soviet dog. So the American dog says, you know, if I bark enough, I can get some sausage or some meat. And the Polish dog says, and meat? What does it mean? And the Soviet dog says, to bark? What does it mean? So you can also see the cartoons, the South Park, which was already mentioned, the Simpsons, which had predicted the win of the Trump. And also, can we have a video? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so on this video, this is Ronald Reagan. He was speaking in front of the audience in 1987 in Berlin, and probably you know that there was a kind of a try to assassinate Ronald Reagan in 1981. So the assassination wasn't successful. So he survived for sure. But before the surgery, when he was sitting around the doctors, Reagan said the phrase which I think was magnificent. He said, "The doctors, I hope you all are Republicans." Coming back to Berlin, to this video, we cannot see it. Unfortunately, there was some kind of official event, and there were balloons, and one of the balloons has just popped, so exploded. So it sounded like a shot, you know. He had assassination. He received 4 bullets. And he said a great phrase. He said, "Missed me." I think that's the great characteristic of a real politician. Even in an official environment, you can still use a humor. It's very important. Believe me, I just was running for the parliament even 1 month ago, and believe me, one of the best tools to come to the voters, to get the supporters, the voters, is really humor, especially on summer. In summer, no one is really serious about politics. Absolutely. And the humor is the best way, you know, to ruin this bridge or to ruin this wall between me and the voters. Or I can also mention, well, there was Zelensky mentioned, our president, who is an actor, comedian, not a clown. By the way, he's a very smart guy. I'm not protecting him, but still. But the very first politician was Marian Savage from Slovenia. He was also a comedian. And he played a prime minister before 2010. And guess what? He became a prime minister. He is now a prime minister for more than 1 year. Or another example, which is Italy, 5 Stars movement. They just became already. Well, they just became part of the coalition in Italy. Or for sure, you know these guys, Boris Johnson and Donald Trump. But yeah. But still, I would emphasize on the following: the humor is an act of political communication. It can be used also to shift agenda and deflect attention. It's very important to discredit political opponents, diminish their roles and status, to fight against authoritarian regime. Also very important. It was mentioned already. An effective tool for political education, increasing level of political literacy. Most of the people, especially millennials, they are not interested in some kind of dulling politics. They want to have some fun. That's how they get to know about politics. It is also efficient in mobilizing, engaging supporters, but at the same time can provoke despair about politics. That's also very important to remember. Yes, humor is underestimated, but please don't overestimate humor. I will explain why a bit later. But at last, not the least, it provokes what all the politicians need, all people need, and that's emotions. If they provoke emotions, they make you to go to vote for them or to protest and so on. One of the examples how humor was used to ridiculous opponents. So probably some of you have followed the previous presidential election in U.S. So that's Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. they were just smoking at each other. So Donald Trump has named Hillary Clinton a nasty woman. And after that, you see what happens, how Hillary has ridiculed. So lots of hashtags and lots of T-shirts and cups with nasty woman and so on. So that kind of has solidarized, so kind of mobilized the supporters of Hillary Clinton, as well as of the Donald Trump, because his supporters were named as basket of deplorables by the Clinton. This is how humor is being used in international relations. Just one example. I also like. So this is the official profile of the MFA of the Ukraine, which is being managed by MFA. There was kind of conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So Russia was trying to steal the history of Ukraine by naming that Anna, one of the historical characters of Ukraine. She was Russian and so on. And that's how the Ukraine MFA has mocked at it, so saying that you see that meanwhile in Moscow there was some forest, Anna Yaroslavna was in Kyiv and so on. Also late night shows, I will not stop in it a lot, but I would emphasize, I will talk about it a bit later, during the discussion, that late night shows also very important to engage more and more people in politics. And you all remember, was that the image? So that's probably you remember how the hair of Trump was like kind of messed by the Fallon in the Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon show. And like I said, this is on the left. You can see me. So I'm ridiculing one of the opponent's messages. So I was representing one of the parties, and one of the messages of the opponents was that this party is being financed by the George Soros. And I made a picture, I posted it on different platforms by saying that, you can see I'm having a phone, like an old phone, somewhere in the park, and I just typed down that, yes, George Soros, I understand you, George Soros, I will do it, George Soros. And so it just went pretty viral. Of course, Zelensky, I think that Zelensky was, he was planning it for at least for 2 years. And let me explain you why. So all these TV shows, like comedian shows, so it's not only People Servant TV series. Also there were some other TV shows, like Portal 95, like Fairy Tale Rus, Сказочный Rus. So what was he trying to do is to kind of diminish all those politicians, like Poroshenko and other guys, and to provoke despair in this politician, about those politicians, all political class. And after that, he proposed another with his TV series. With TV series People Servant, he proposed, okay, all those politicians are bad, they are funny, they are not interesting, and I give you hope. And believe me or not, now Zelensky is not using humor anymore. Like, or I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but still, he's not using humor. He's trying to make people perceive him as a serious guy. But there is another side of the coin. Please, again, do not overestimate the status of humor. There is a risk of oversimplification generalizing of political discourse. There should be a proportional use of humor, otherwise it can be perceived with mocking and light-minded connotation. But still, humor is a very serious tool. Thank you for your attention, and please, one more thing. Yes, I would like to say that politics needs humor, for sure, unless it doesn't turn into a joke. And life really needs games, unless it becomes a game. Thank you very much. Thanks, that's my first time here. Never been in that kind of 4D stage. But yes, I have lots of examples prepared, so I think that'll be good discussion. And please don't forget that humor is a great thing, but don't overestimate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maksym.